So from motorbikes to armors and tanks.
This production of the raw materials really then opened a lot of doors for us.
Was it timed with India's own kind of Make in India journey and the focus that the country itself has had?
The R&D for us is on the fact that if the threats are going up, our ceramics can protect against those threats.
Speaking of warfare, it's all going electronic a lot today, a lot of technology coming in. So are you guys also working on that front?
We are in the business of protection. We are in the story of protecting our armed forces, protecting the military, paramilitary and state police.
Hello and welcome to Digital Playbooks by the Hindu Business Line. I'm your host Sindhu Hariharan. As we approach India's Republic Day, we have with us a company that is focused on making India self-reliant when it comes to its crucial aerospace and defense sectors. We have with us Mr. Subbu Venkatachalam, the head of the Aerospace and Defence Division at Carborundum Universal Limited. Carborundum, as you know, is a pioneering listed company in the space of material sciences and solutions. And the company is today targeting some of its R&D efforts into making India more self-reliant in its aerospace and defense sectors. For this, it is leveraging into its legacy in the ceramic space. Thank you, Mr. Subbu. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Sindhu. Thanks for having me.
So firstly, to start off, I'd just like to understand, how you initiation into the business itself and why specifically aerospace and defense as a division did you choose to kind of, target your R&D?
So CUMI historically has been in the aerospace and defense business for a very long time. We've been supplying parts, in ad hoc manner to different, companies. Every time there's a request, things have come into us from a ceramic standpoint, abrasive standpoint, or even refractories. Being a material science company, we cut through several different verticals, defense being one of them. And there's been a lot of ad hoc requests that have come over the last 10 to 15 years. We saw there is a growth in that demand of requests coming into us. Just from the Indian company standpoint, there's a lot of demand with a lot of the materials that we produce, which are homegrown by us in India today. With that demand, we really realized there's a huge opportunity in the market today. This is also boosted a little bit more by the entire Make in India initiative. That's really helped sort of the interest and the sort of importance given to Indian companies to produce products for the Indian market, by the Indian market itself. So with those two aspects in mind, I think the demand has really, pushed our likelihood of, strengthening ourselves in the defense sector. So that's sort of a very brief history into it. We've been in the sort of environment of defense and aerospace. Now we're just formalizing it and scaling up. And that's really been the focus for us over the last 3 to 4 years.
Right. And, talking about yourself, was your entry into the business more natural, organic because of the family roots, or, why did you choose this particular division? Any specific interest area of yours?
Slightly, not in particular. There's been sort of some importance given to defense, of course, from a market standpoint. But personally, my background has been very different. I grew up in Chennai. I went to school here and then went to my undergrad to the University of Bath for a few years in the UK studying business administration and economics. When I came back in India in about 2012, I was looking for opportunities to work. That time, being young, I was very passionate about certain things. Motorcycles were one of them. With that in mind, I started working with Royal Enfield. So that was the first sort of taste of business or formal business environment that I sort of was initiated into. I was with Enfield for almost a decade, so a very long time.
Right.
But it was also during the time of their growth phase. So from 2012 onwards, that taught me a lot about how you need to build a brand and how brand is so important in the market and how companies really grow from what they are, from just a product and putting that into market and then building a brand around it. So I had great exposure into what Enfield had done, and their growth story had taught me a lot. So when I came into the family business, one of the opportunities was defense because it was a newer business to be a part of. So that really gave me an understanding of saying, okay, look, there's something new out there. Can we venture into it? Can we build a brand around it? And that exposure into brand building was sort of my leeway into the defense sector in some way or the other. When I did work with CUMI, when I started with CUMI, I was looking after the marketing for a few years.
Okay.
However, the opportunity in defense came up, very recently, and then I've taken up that role. So I think building a brand around CUMI's defense and aerospace has been sort of my interest and focus for the last couple of years.
Right. So from motorbikes to armors and tanks.
I know.
It must have been a huge change in terms of how you...
It was. I think, Enfield has its own strengths and own sort of principles that we work under, or we used to work under. With CUMI, of course, there's the entire basis on our material science. That's really the focus. That's the core. So it's a very technical sort of side of the business that we have to be very strong with.
Okay.
However, the nature of building a brand is very similar. You need to sort of strengthen the pillars of what you stand for, who you are as a company, and that needs to go into the market. People need to understand who you are and what you do. And I think that's been something that we've been trying to focus on for the last few years. And I think we've done a pretty good job in terms of stabilizing, what we really want to achieve in the defense sector. And, there are parallel sort of takeaways from both, the automotive sector, for one, is something that it touches into. Of course, tanks are very different from motorcycles, but again, the principles are all very similar. And I think that's really helped me sort of focus on what we want to do.
But as you said, it's the aerospace and defense as a segment is not very new for the company. That you have been doing some work with respect to your materials. So how did that, kind of decision to focus, maybe take me through the evolution into a separate division and the focus? Was it timed with India's own kind of Make in India journey and the focus that the country itself has had?
Yeah. It sort of has in some form. I think the entire concept of Make in India has helped a lot. It's opened, of course, a lot of doors for us. However, I think from our own capability, I think we were able to figure out that a lot of the raw materials that we produce ourselves, it can be utilized or forward integrated to a lot of products that go into the defense and aerospace sector, not just for India, but globally itself. So just a very quick history to it. CUMI was started around 1954, and we were focused on making abrasive products for the Indian market. And soon enough, we understood that backward integration really helps our business, being competitive in terms of pricing, but also in terms of the technicality and R&D for us to be able to focus on the raw material will give us an edge on the eventual product itself. This shift happened in the early 60s, where in Kerala, we were able to produce our own raw materials for the abrasives. This production of the raw materials really then opened a lot of doors for us. We realized that with the focus on the raw material, we're able to then forward integrate into various other industries and other products as well. That led us to manufacturing industrial ceramics, super refractories, and all of that goes into traditional industries like mining and coal production and so on and so forth. However, now when we look at it, there are other industries like defense and aerospace that can use a lot of these raw materials. So materials like alumina, silicon carbide are core to what we do in defense today. And we're really focused on manufacturing with those base materials that we produce in Kerala. So, from there, in our plants in Hosur, we're able to manufacture ceramic armored material. And that's one of the hero products that we've been able to design and develop for the Indian market today. And so that's really how the story has gone. So the backward integration has actually led us to be able to forward integrate into various other industries and verticals as well.
Some of the products you'd like to talk about, you touched upon armors. Maybe what are the current product portfolio in this division like?
Sure. So armor itself has a very, very wide portfolio. So what we were able to do with the base material like alumina and silicon carbide, we were able to manufacture ceramic armor for various applications. So the way I would like to look at the business, or CUMI looks at the business today, is that we are in the business of protection. We are in the story of protecting our armed forces, protecting the military, paramilitary, and state police. That's really what we do on a day-to-day basis. We're a material science company with that story, and that's our entire focus. So when we look at protection, we look at protection of our soldiers, we look at protection of equipment, our entire engine systems, and even terrains that we can protect for the Indian ecosystem. When we look at this entire sort of philosophy of protection, then we can really break it down into things like protection of man. When we look at man, it's for soldiers. We have produced armored material for bulletproof jackets. We produce armored material for shields that the state police, for example, use today. And even for helmets, we're able to produce certain products. And these are all ceramic materials that go into the bulletproof jackets that act as a ballistic application to protect soldiers from different threats, different ammunition, for example. So that's really the core of what we do. So the ceramic is a very, very hard material. It's very strong in nature. It can absorb the impact of a bullet, and it breaks in that sense. So that's a principle behind what a ceramic needs to do for at least a ballistic application.
But speaking of warfare, it's all going electronic a lot today. A lot of technology coming in. So are you guys also working on that front? I mean, we are now kind of attacking through the air, not really perhaps tanks so much. So how do you see that?
Great question. It is going into sort of unmanned vehicles or unmanned aircraft. So that reason, everything is very technology-led. Our entire philosophy, like I was talking about, is on the protection. So it's on the protection of, even if it's an unmanned aircraft, for drones, for example, we do make composite parts for drones today, CFRP sheets, tubes, everything which is sort of made by us in one of our facilities in Ranipet. Again, it's all made to save weight, make it stronger for the actual drone that's flying in the air. Or our raw material, which is our ceramics or our sort of grade of different ceramics, are also used to protect those parts and those equipments as well.
Okay.
So ceramic armor we're working on now for different applications like drones. So for us, protection is all along the line of actually all the equipment that we look at.
So in terms of business, I mean, where are you currently in the entire revenue cycle? I mean, you are paying customers. You can just tell us a bit of what's happening in this division specific.
So the defense and aerospace business for CUMI is almost like a startup in some sense. It's a very, very new division that we've started over the last 2 years. So the main focal point of this division is in our facility in Hosur, where we have scaled up to about 150 tons of silicon carbide production for armored ceramics. So this is something we've just established over the last year and a half. So the production of this material is scaling up as we speak. And as we are scaling up our production, we are also working with a lot of customers mainly for bulletproof jackets. That's a big business for us at the moment now. Vehicle armor is a huge requirement that's also progressing really well. So I think that's something we're working with, different public labs, which is labs from DRDO, to work on a lot of technology transfers, where we get the technology, we work hand in hand with them to develop a lot of the ceramic armoring systems, and then also started working with a lot of customers to sort of supply that into the market.
In the aerospace, I mean, where does the material actually go in, and, how far along are you in terms of doing commercial business?
So we have done quite a lot of work in the aerospace sector as well. So the raw materials, for example, that we use to manufacture a lot of our defense equipment, like, alumina, silicon carbide, can also be made into different products that are required for aerospace. So for example, in aerospace applications, you need products that can deal with really, really high temperatures. It needs to be thermally protected in that nature. So ceramic is a great product. So ceramic nozzles, ceramic fasteners are very small, intricate, high precision engineered equipment that go into aerospace parts that we can manufacture. So CUMI has the capability of doing or designing very, very small precision equipment that can go into sort of different aerospace applications. And this is one of our strengths, the designing and manufacturing of these technical parts.
Right. So in terms of the R&D focus, is it safe to say that a large portion of the R&D efforts are going into this business? Because I understand there are a few other kind of niche areas, sunrise sectors that the company is focused on. So
absolutely. Defense is going to be one large pillar that we focus on. I think in CUMI, the strength of our sort of capability is on the R&D. Because we are a material science company, we cut through several different industries, whether it's EV, semicon, railway, I mean, you name it, we're kind of there across the board. However, when we look at defense, it requires a lot of development work within India itself, because it's quite new to the sector overall. And what we are looking at is a lot of development work in, for example, in the ceramic business. We look at what sort of ammunition is going to be developed in the next 10, 15 years. So what threats are going to really be there for our soldiers in the next 10, 15 years. We need to study that. So we need to understand that. And based on that, we will start creating, or we already have started creating ceramics that can protect them. The R&D for us is on the fact that if the threats are going up, our ceramics can protect against those threats.
Right. And on the manufacturing front, I mean, what are you tapping on some technologies? Is the manufacturing for this division kept separate? Maybe you can just tell us something
Yeah.
about
So the manufacturing is within our facility in Hosur, and we are scaling up to about 150 tons of armored ceramic, of silicon carbide armored ceramic for the year. And this will require a lot of dedicated efforts in terms of how the ceramic is manufactured. Now, the real strength of CUMI, at least even with the ceramic, is that we have the knowledge of manufacturing the ceramic for the last 25 to 30 years. So we know it really, really well. Now it's about strengthening that scale and sort of also looking at how do we break into newer materials also. So how do we start getting into newer materials that we could look at manufacturing within the same facility, of course. But that's really going to be the sort of the barrier that we have to break in moving forward. So scale is something very important for us because we don't, we're looking at this in a very, very large volume. And of course, capability of breaking into newer materials, something we're going to look at manufacturing soon as well. So I think these are the areas that we'll be focusing on. We have a very, very strong knowledge on the ceramic itself. But over the last 2 years, we've said, how can we better that ceramic? How can we make it a lot more effective in nature? So, we've procured newer equipment that can really help us enhance the strengthening of that ceramic and also make it a lot more efficient for the end user as well. And, being an Indian manufacturer, we also focus on the cost as well. So we know that a lot of this has to be affordable for the end user. It just can't be, as expensive material or, as expensive for the manufacturing process. So that's where we are very, very strong, and we're able to look at the economics of it, understand the science behind it, and then build that together for the end customer. So I think, the focus for us is India for sure, but this will also help us on a global scale to export this product to other countries. Today a lot of countries, especially in the defense sector, are looking at a China plus one strategy, just because of the entire geopolitical situation. And I think this is where we also have an advantage of sort of manufacturing, scaling to a very, very high volume, and also making it affordable in nature for our end customers.
Right. And in that sense, I mean, 2026, what are you looking at as key priorities for this business? Where are all the energies going to be focused on?
In the short run, also our focus will be on strengthening the current portfolio that we have. So armored ceramics, for example, how do we make it as strong and as light as possible for our end users? And there are tremendous amount of things that we're doing on the design front, in terms of the technology of how we manufacture, but also in terms of the technology, how we implement that into a bulletproof jacket or a vest or into vehicle armor as well. So there's a lot of focus going not just onto sort of the science behind the material, but how that can be incorporated into sort of looking at protection. Because our philosophy is on protection of sort of, man and machine, we also want to start establishing newer applications. So if you've driven past airports, you will see a lot of, the paramilitary standing behind these steel shields. These are all applications that can actually be converted to ceramics as well, because it's a thin layer of steel that can take on certain level of ammunition to protect the soldier behind it. However, ceramic can, be used as a lightweight solution, can be easily maneuverable, and has a way more stronger aspect of protection. So for our focus is now for the next few years is also going to be breaking into newer applications. How can we look at static protection applications like the shields that I was talking about, naval applications. So the Navy require a lot of lightweight solutions to protect against bulletproofing. So how can we get into that? We have to do a lot of design work from the ground up with a lot of the shipbuilders, for example. That's something we're trying to focus on and work on today. Today, there are a lot of requirements for soldiers in terms of mine-proof boots, for example. So when they're walking in the field, mine protection becomes an aspect of saying how do we protect the soldier from, those sort of threats.
So aerospace and defense overall, I mean, there's a lot of awareness today, be it among customers, be it among people in general. So anything you're doing in terms of creating more awareness around the aerospace and the unmanned area specifically?
Today in aerospace and defense, there's a lot of importance given to one side of the business, which I would say, which is the market side, which is the product and sort of selling to the customers. But when we look at the grassroots level of sort of skill development and training, that's the side that's sort of developing as we speak or is progressing as we speak. From a group or from the entire Murugappa group, we have thought about this and we have said, look, why don't we think about the grassroots level? What can we do there to really skill develop. And I'm not even talking about university or college, this is school level. What can we do to teach kids about what's happening in the world today and make it relevant for them as well? So we've opened out a science center, the MMT Science Centre, very close to Trichy. It's about 45 minutes from Trichy, in Chettinad, where we've been able to open a skill development center for manufacturing drones. So this school will teach young kids, between the class of 7 to 8, how to really make their own drones, how to fly their own drones. And this is really going into sort of the modern architecture of what's happening in the world today, right? So drones are used for everything from aerospace to defense and, anything, agriculture, for example. It's being used in tremendous different industries. But what is the science behind it? How is it manufactured? Or what is really the basics of it? I think this is something we've already started teaching a lot of these young kids. I think that's really the goal for us to really achieve.
Thank you so much for joining us today, sir. All the very best for all of that you're trying to do in the space of aerospace and defense. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. It was a pleasure.